God, we pray for Africa. Send us angels of love. We pray for peace in Africa.
The major need of every young person in this country is employment. Because as you said, we are the majority. Yet, majority of these young people are unemployed. For instance, if you talk to a youth who lives in Nairobi and one who lives in Wajir, they're both youth, but their problems are totally different. So I think there should be a mechanism of getting to reach even the youth in the rural areas to understand what their issues are in the first place. Then set up maybe structures that address these issues, people who understand what these youth issues are. I think there should be a system of first getting to know what problems these are for the different youth in the different parts of the country, and then now getting ideas from the same youth who are well endowed on how they want their issues addressed. I think people have never really appreciated the talent that the youth have and taken time to tap into it. So what happened is the priorities were wrong. We had people who claimed to be working for the youth, but really didn't know what the youth wanted or what the youth needed per se. We have a long way to go, especially for the young women. For it, we didn't have any woman elected as a governor, or actually there was no woman vying for governor position. So we still have a long way to go. Yet it's a step forward because at least a number of the county representatives are young people. But we are still far. There's still much to be done. We still need to get youth to be interested in vying for these positions and to get the same youth to support their fellow youth. Because at the moment, the numbers are still wanting, considering the population, which is majority. I believe the reason the women representative seat was created was to try and increase the number of women in the National Assembly. But to some extent, it worked against the women. Because in most of these places, the electorate were being told not to vote for women for positions of the National Assembly and others because women have their seat. The youth themselves first need to decide what they want to demand from this government. There have been talks around youth fund and the youth development fund and things. It's one thing for the government to have the youth fund and the ideas of how they want it to work, but what really do the youth need? The challenges are quite a number. First, finances. We all understand that Kenyan politics is all about money, how much you can print posters and t-shirts and what have you. So the young people experience the challenge of finances because they can't raise this money, and that means some of them were bought, for lack of a better word, by the other politicians who maybe believed they were a challenge. There's also the issue of culture, especially for the women, where women they don't get support even of their fellow women because they believe a woman is not supposed to talk in front of people and things like that. And there was also the challenge of political parties, which was major, and it affected especially the young women. Nominations, you even get nominated, you win the nomination, but when it comes to the time of being given the certificate for your political party, you understand it was given to someone else. So by the time you change political parties, it destabilizes your campaigns and things like that. Patronage politics, where big politicians are running their political parties as if they are clubs. You give positions to your family members and things like that. So that was also a challenge to young people. And even convincing your fellow young people to vote for you is a challenge in itself. You realize you're going to vie at maybe your home place. People look at you as that other young man that they've been seeing growing, so they don't really see what you have to offer. When people were threatened, young women were threatened by their opponents. So for fear of their security and their families, they decided to back out. We also had a case of a young woman from Nakuru who we had been with her through her journey when she said she wanted to vie. And then at some point she just backed out because she said she didn't get support from her family. Her father was totally against her vying. According to her father, politics is dirty and it's for men, so yeah. So support of family was among things that made some young people just shy away from the whole process.
Won't you
Like for instance, there was this push for affirmative action, where the political parties were being asked to maybe reduce their nomination fees and things like that to be able to have as many young women as possible on board. But some had written things, it was all on paper. In fact, if you look at those nomination rules, it's like they were copy-pasted. So it's just the name of the party that changes, but the thing is almost the same. So it was just for formality purposes, but they were not really followed to the latter. Kenya is largely patriarchal, and somehow people believe that, you see even in instances when we are applied for positions, majority of the times women apply for the deputy position. So I think there's a fixation. People believe that that big position is supposed to be left for the men. I think that's what happened. And then there's this issue, it still comes back to the issues of finances. For instance, campaigning for governorship or the senatorial position or presidency for that matter means a lot of resources, and it means a lot of time, and you need support from all corners. And if the community or the society that you live in is not ready to embrace your leadership and see like you have something to offer, then it's a challenge in itself. You know, it's better if you feel you have support. So if you go to those local areas, for instance, you don't even get support of your fellow women. There's a woman in West Pokot. She's not from that area herself, but she's married in West Pokot. The women were hostile to her candidature. It was not even the men, it was the women who fought her candidature. I believe devolution was a great idea, a perfect timing maybe, because it kind of brings down opportunities and power to a level where majority can access it. The only challenge that we will face is if people do not understand what is devolution and what is in store for them. So in my opinion, the young people, especially because we are the majority, should take initiative and ensure that they understand what devolution is and what is in it for them, so that then they can be able to follow their leaders to ensure that the devolution principles, for instance, are met. But ensuring that there is gender balance and opportunity to even have the different parts of the country that were marginalized at some point to come to par with the rest of the country. So what we should ensure, what we should look out for is that we have leaders that believe in devolution, leaders that are not there to seek their own maybe selfish interests, but people that really have the county's needs at heart, people that understand what devolution is and what it is intended to do. In that, by the 2/3 rule will make sure that positions that for a long time have been somewhat kept aside for the men, now the women will have to be included. So I believe it's something that will enhance the role of young women in leadership, because we have really many talented women. That is something I believe in. But they've not been getting these opportunities because maybe they were being discriminated upon. But now that there's a law or something like that states that there has to be at least a person, as in there has to be a person of the other gender. I'm insisting on women because mostly the male have been favored. My opinion is that we should change mindsets. We should bring women to a position where they understand they're not lesser beings. If we empower a woman to know that she has the capability, the same just like the male counterpart, then we will have more women getting interested in leadership. We will have even more women wanting to participate politically. We should have a situation where a woman is not vying for presidency, for instance, not because she feels she can't, but just because she's not interested, as in politics is not her thing. I believe that if we're going to have more women in leadership positions or participating in the governance process in whatever level, then we should be able to empower young women, especially those from the rural areas. We should be able to have them appreciate themselves and believe that they have the capability. And we should also change mindsets of even the men, because if we only empower the women and leave out the men, we will still be fighting a losing battle. So yeah, we should ensure that men and women alike appreciate the capability of women. We have the potential, we have the talent, we have to take advantage of the positions and the opportunities that have been given to us, especially by the Constitution. So let us fight a united front. Let us keep encouraging each other, and let's not imagine that we are lesser beings.